It was a busy Wednesday. There were teams tanking like crazy. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what we do with it. How do we view the production of all of the players that played on Wednesday? Michael Bolton, let's go.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and of course I've got a baby wombat. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers at FanDuel can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com and find the best newsletter for your favorite team. Sign up, it's free. You get it in your inbox 5 days a week. Double bang over here as well. Get the video cranking into your playlist. Subscribe to the pod on the audio side. Give us the thumbs and the comments and the reviews and all of that stuff. It is Wednesday's games we're talking about. It is World Kidney Day. So for all of you nephrology legends out there, here's the day. If you suffer through kidney disease, again, Awareness Day. If you just like kidneys, also your day. I don't know who that applies to, but whatever. We're here to talk about the NBA and no more kidney chatter. Let's get into a little bit of news. Domantas Sabonis upgraded to questionable. Now, they have a Thursday-Friday back-to-back. It is early. I've never seen an NBA team push someone back early from a hamstring injury, so I guess we'll find out what happens. I highly doubt Sabonis plays both of these games. The decision you make now on Jonas Valanciunas is a tough one. Well, actually, it's not. The decision you could have made on Valanciunas happened after Monday. Doing it now, when you've wasted 2 days of action, is not worth it. You're better off holding for tomorrow. They've got a back-to-back, and let's say Sabonis sits one, maybe you get 50 minutes out of Valanciunas. If you were going to take the plunge and drop Valanciunas with the chance that Sabonis returned for one of these games, you did it after Monday. And you got a Tuesday game in, you got a Wednesday game in. Now it's pointless. Now you've got one of the, there's only three teams, it's only 3 teams that have a Thursday, Friday back-to-back. You've got a player from one of them, and he's going to start in at least one game, maybe 2. So you don't drop Valanciunas now. If you were going to do it, you did it Monday. You don't do it now. The other thing is the Jazz. They got fined for the Lauri Markkanen fake injuries. Not really sure why. And let me explain. They've done this for 3 years, literally 3 years, and they gave one specific date, and they said, yeah, and other games. Yeah, other games. About 50 of them over the last 3 years. We all know what they're doing. Everyone knows what they're doing. Markkanen played today. We'll talk about the Jazz later, and what we do with this one, and the fines do escalate the further you go, but it is worth remembering that every other player, they will not get fined for. Sexton, Kessler, Collins, they don't get fined if those guys sit. It's only Markkanen because he was an all-star. That's it. But I don't know why it took until now. So if I was them, and we've gone this far through it, and we're trying to get ourselves in a position to grab Cooper Flagg, if they elevate to $250,000, if they elevate to $500,000 on the fine, I actually don't care. Getting Cooper Flagg is worth all that money. The way that transforms your franchise, it's fine. It's actually worth it. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but we also have mentioned that they're playing a bunch of good teams this week. So Markkanen could easily just play out this week, and there's about 50% of the games left, and he's going to sit back-to-backs, we know that. About half the games he'll sit, half the games he won't, and he won't play the final 3 weeks of the season, is my guess. And again, it does not impact the other players. They can sit them at any point that they want because they're not all-stars. So that is how that works. So be aware of it. I don't think, this is almost one of those ones, and I'm going to sound incredibly old and stupid here. It's one of those don't hate the player, hate the game scenarios, which is honestly the first time I've ever said that phrase out loud, and I couldn't feel more off rhythm if I tried. But the rules and the incentives are set up for this. If you want to stop teams doing this the way that they've done it, then the draft just needs to be very different. I don't know the answer. I don't have the solution. I'm not claiming to have it. But that is the thing. That is what it is. You can put whatever rules you want. We'll fine you. You got to play like that team. They will figure it out. They will sort themselves out to get around that. What you have to change is the price, not the punishment. You have to change the incentive, and that is how I think that it's able to change. But of course, who cares? As long as I don't know who the Pistons coach is, that's probably all that matters. Let's go through to talk about Game 1. Boston, Oklahoma City. A matchup of two banger teams. And the Thunder prevail, despite not having the Bronco Jalen Williams. They made some changes to their lineup. The Bronco was out, obviously, so Carson Wallace, the Hong Kong mattress, stepped in. But that wasn't the only change they made. Isaiah Hartenstein went to the bench, and Aaron Wiggins started. Now, that is just almost certainly they're going to go back and forward with this sort of stuff. To see where he's they're going to go back and forward. Let me rephrase. I just lost my train there. They're going to go back and forward because it was against Jayson Tatum, he's a 3, honestly, playing as a 4, and they don't need the double bigs as often. That is what the idea was, and you'll see that happen. And because the Thunder are so far up, what they are going to do over the last part of this season, they're going to take this time, and Dagnott literally said this out loud. We're going to do it, and we're going to try to experiment with different formats, different lineups, different situations to see what works, what doesn't, what data we can get. So it's going to move back and forth. So the question is going to be, what do you do with Isaiah Hartenstein? Is he a drop? 25 minutes, 11, 6, and 3 is fine. It's fine. It's reasonably good. It's not terrible. I would try to hold, but as we always will say, if he sits as your 11th or 12th best player, and it makes sense to cut in, to get more guys in via schedule play, do it. 25 minutes, 11, 6, and 3 steal. Totally fine. Totally worth holding. You hold in games caps. You hold in roto. But when talking head-to-head, if he is one of your worst 3 to 4 players, that is cuttable. Shea, 34, 5, and 7, 2 threes. Cool. Wallace, the big fella, 14 and 4, 2 steals, 3 assists, 1 block. Yes, 83%. Yes, very low usage. But good numbers. He's in play. Do I think that he is more than a stream guy? Probably not, honestly. And Jalen Williams' injury is not long-term, even though I think he'll miss a couple. As for Aaron Wiggins, can't say that I haven't said this a million times. If the shots don't go in at extraordinarily above average levels, you're getting nothing. 0 of 9. Now, when I say that, of course, I'm not sitting here saying he's actually going to shoot 0%, guys. Don't even bother with it, mate. I know what I'm talking about. 0% is happening. So it's all good. It's written. It's pre-written. I didn't expect that. But it is I won't say it's a core tenet. It's an amendment to my tenets. I don't know if tenets could be amended, but anyway, it's one of those things that if your value comes from shooting 58% and you're a wing player, I don't care. I don't buy it because it doesn't hold all the time. It happens occasionally. It gets hot. Everyone talks about it. And then you do this nonsense. No. We don't roster Aaron Wiggins outside of streaming. Lou Dort started off with like 5 points in 5 minutes and ended with 13. He played 39 minutes. He's streamable, and literally that is it. And we got a little bit of extra stuff from Isaiah Joe. 11 points in 25 minutes. Interestingly, Kenrich Williams played and Pig Williams didn't. It was also a really good game from Chet, who we talked about struggling. And good to see the numbers bump up. 23, 15, 3 threes. That's probably his best game since returning from the injury. Maybe close enough to it anyway. The Celtics side of things, they did have some changes to their lineup. Porzingis still out with whatever the hell is going on. But Cornet was off out of the lineup, and Al Horford started instead. Sam Hauser went to the bench, and Jayson Tatum started instead, and Tatum played 41 minutes, 33, 8. I said that like as if Tatum's not a regular starter. Tatum just came back. 33, 8, and 8 with 4 threes. Maximum Derek had 22, 8, 5, 2 steals, 3 blocks, and a ridiculously good line. And Horford had 18 and 10 with 6 threes and 2 blocks, 34 minutes. Also, good minutes from Drew, 35 minutes. They obviously took this game very seriously. But Drew's still nothing more than a stream guy. And Jaylen Brown, that stinks, man. 10 points, no threes, 2 steals. He has been confounding this season. And also, guess what? Another stinker from Peyton Pritchard. I know it's controversial, but if you're in a head-to-head league, he's not a must-roster player. He just isn't. There's hot games, but he's not a must-roster player. I found something really interesting, and I don't know how much I want to get in depth into this, but I don't understand the point of like a tweet, like Underdog, you follow Underdog, and they put a tweet out after the first quarter. Boston first quarter, 22 3-point attempts, 2 3-point attempts. Like, why? What's the point of that? Because you know what's going to happen. A bunch of people are going to come in and go, this is why the NBA ratings are down. This is why we don't watch, from someone who's never watched a game in 15 years. That's because they don't try. College basketball's better. Oh my God, all these threes. How that's dreadful. Yet, that first quarter was actually amazing. Boston scored 30 points and it was great. But putting that stuff out is, who cares? Just say they took 24 shots. And they actually took high volume shots, made them at 40%, and had a bloody good quarter. So I don't get the point of that. What's the point of being like some? I know it is. It's engagement, rage, clickbait. But man, come on. We have to do a better job of actually promoting the things that are good, rather than putting something out that we know will get people fired up. And I probably do that at times. I try not to. I try to be positive, but yeah, that shit me a lot. Hopefully, he didn't add Sam Hauser after the last game. He had 3 points in 11 minutes. All right, we'll come back. There are, how many more? 8 games here, because I've only done one. There are 8 more games to talk about. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes, well, not Texas. Texas not applying here, although it does apply in Texas. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were ever going to get any money back. And then it was waiting and wondering and worrying some more. And now, Taxes is just matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates as they progress, so that you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, and everything with 100% accuracy, all so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, and no worries. Now this is Taxes. I really don't know how to read. I need direction. Line read? I don't know how to say that line, because to me it's just about saying it like it's pod racing. But I'm not going to do that because it's not in the script. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Kings over at Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, hey, where'd my money go? Did I get hacked? Where's it gone? Well, you're dining out, online shopping, entertainment, subscriptions. It can be easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO. It gives you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just about managing your money. It's about helping you to build wealth. It's a complete financial command center. With Monarch Money, you get in there, you can see all the different things and go, bloody, why am I spending so much here on food delivery? Need to cut that out. What about all my entertainment streaming subscriptions? Oh my God, look how much is in here. You can do all that and take control with Monarch Money, and you can do it now with the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA, and that is half off for your first year. Shall we do the second game of the day? That would be a pretty good place to go to now. I think it is the Atlanta Hawks and the Charlotte Hornets. 123 Atlanta, 110 Charlotte is your final score. The Hornets actually come into this game with the exact same lineup that they went out there with in the last one. And that was another absolute monster. This is an incredible tear from Mikal Bridges. 31-11. Now, just remember again that he's putting these numbers on. If you go look at his numbers pre-All-Star break, like, just bad. He was bad. He was like outside the top 100 for weeks. Brandon Miller goes down, and now he turns into this guy who's literally a top 10 player. I don't know what is happening, but 31-11 and 5, 2 steals and 4 blocks is incredible. LaMelo, 25-3 and 9, 2 steals. Another shocking shooting night, but he's getting there through volume, and we've got a double-double from the big fella Mark Williams. Also, what is happening where Daquan Jeffries is playing 32 minutes and scoring 20 points? He had 4 threes and 2 blocks. Now, he started a few games here, big Daquan. Been nowhere near this, but he has taken over from Nick Smith, so at least he moves a little bit into the stream zone as opposed to what Smith was doing. As for Smith, he had his little audition. He proved he was terrible, and he's gone back to the bench. 7 points in 19 for him, while Josh Green does absolutely nothing. He had 2 steals in his time. Not much else going on. 10-day legend Marcus Garrett played, and they kept the minutes or the games for Simpson and Bohr down. Both Bohr and Simpson did not play. Well, Tijan Salan, number 6 overall pick, is in the G League because he's not even developing in the NBA because he's bad. Not that he's helping them win. He's just bad. Nurkic and Diabate, we don't roster those guys. They're still just getting backup minutes. You can stream one of them in when Mark Williams is out, and that is about it. What about for the Hawks? Trae Young returned. Just a casual 35, 7, and 12. Yeah, he didn't shoot well, but 21 of 21 from the line is insane. That gives you such a big buffer for the rest of the week. Dyson Daniels just does his thing, 10, 5, and 3, 4 steals and 2 blocks. While Dracaris LeVert had 15 and 4 with 4 threes. Good numbers. George Niang, 12 with 2 threes in 26 minutes. Good streaming numbers. And what I talked about on the waiver wire show today about the night watchman, Mohamed Ayuge, is that I thought that the minutes had pushed up to 22 because there'd always been somebody out. And when everyone is healthy, I didn't know how to make the 240 game fit. Well, he played 14 minutes. Because there are not enough minutes for him to play. Now, in saying that, the big fella still had 2 steals and 2 blocks, and I almost called him something that is relatively popular in Australia, but not a word that's said around the world. So I almost didn't say that. I almost did. Lucky I didn't. 2 steals and 2 blocks is great. 14 minutes is terrible. Don't add him. I know the 2 steals and 2 blocks will look good, but when they are healthy, there are not enough minutes here. Krejci played just 15 minutes, and then Okongwu, man, bro. 31 minutes, 7 points, 25%. Now, he has been really good. This stinks, clearly. It's okay. We give him a pass. Well, Terrence Mann also just continues to be bad, and we're not rostering him. Domi Barlow, the Trojan, he got the backup minutes with Capella out. Just keep an eye on that for deeper leagues if Clint does happen to remain sidelined. I hope you've got everything strapped down because we're going to talk about a game that I don't really know how we view it long term, but it is the Philadelphia 76ers. It is the Toronto Raptors, 2 teams desperately trying to lose. And there was no Tyrese Maxey, there was no Paul George, and then Gershon Yabusele was out. Now, I want to say this about the Sixers. We don't really know what they're going to do moving forward here. It's hard to sort of judge how they're going to view this because the Lauri Markkanen fine happened for Utah, and both Tyrese Maxey and Paul George fall under their policy. So if the NBA does an investigation, now it did take 3 years. It took 1 game for the Hawks to get investigated by. It took 3 years for the Jazz to get investigated. But if they do it for the Sixers, then they've got both of those guys at risk. The other players, no problem. But it is very clear the pattern. Remember what we talked about after the Jazz game for the Sixers on the weekend, how Nurse said he was limiting minutes? And I said, yeah, okay. Is that just for the game against the Jazz? Because then Grimes played 39 the next game. And guess what he did against another tanking team here? 31 minutes only for Grimey. He still was great. 29 to 4, 3 steals and 2 blocks. Insane volume. He has been so good and obviously a clear fantasy guy. But are we going to get these lower minutes in these games? I would say certainly. But how they deal with Maxey and George is going to be really, really tough. Lonnie Walker lasted 20 seconds. And while most of us can relate, not because we hit our head on the floor of an NBA court, he did have 1 rebound in that time and then didn't return. I'll guess that he's being evaluated for a concussion. Walker is only valuable when players are out, and there's not enough players out here for him to be a must roster. He moved to the bench. Jared Butler continued to start. Interesting. He had some moments earlier in the season for the Wizards. He had just 9 points, but 8 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 steals is really good. I find it hard to get more invested in him than anything more than a streamer at this stage, but that was good. And we also got Boner time. 13 and 9, 1 steal and 2 blocks, which again is very good. Is 23 Boner minutes, as opposed to Lonnie Walker's 20 seconds, is 23 Boner minutes with production like this worth a must-add spot? This is all going to come down to the individual preference here. Because general rule would say yes, but no. And let me explain. I like that line. That is 100% usable. There is scope for him to improve from that, to play 27 minutes a night in periods of this season. That can all happen. But if we're talking and you're in the semi-final right now and you need production, it is better to double up the game volume than to get that for 3 games. It's better to get more games in than to hold it. If you are in a situation where it's still regular season, it's first week of playoffs and you're winning, it's roto, it's games caps, then yeah, have him, hold him, wait for more to come later. It's good enough. But if you are waiting that versus streaming the stream spot is worth more. If he pushes to 30 minutes, then he will be worth more than the stream spot. But again, the trade-off is, can you survive until that happens? Drummond, washed. 4 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks. He's not good. He's not good. Justin Edwards and Ricky Council sort of going back and forward on their minutes. It's hard to nail that down. And again, we saw it exactly like Sunday. Only 26 minutes for Kelly Oubre. I'm not suggesting that Oubre is a drop, but part of the reason he's able to work his way into 12-team value is by playing 38 a night. And if you're not going to do that every night, and we're seeing that he won't, that makes it a little bit of a tough sell for me. I can't ignore Jeff Doughton, who played 27 minutes for 20 points, 2 threes and 2 steals on 64%, but honestly, he could play 14 minutes next game. So it is really hard to get behind that or get excited about it. And then we get into analysing this next team, who is absolutely shameless and fair enough. They're in Canada. They don't have much to live for otherwise. But they're going to do a bunch of weird stuff. We've seen it, and they have got the problem here. Well, actually, you know what? Let me refresh that. I love you, Canadians. They have got a schedule against the worst teams you'll ever seen. But I think them winning this game, which they did, 118-105, might put them in a situation where I'm not sure that they can even get down low enough for this to matter. And that might mean that at some point they give up on this idea of flipping things around. I don't know that. Barrett rested, quickly rested, Barnes rested, Ingram's not coming back, Dick's out, Abaji's out, and then healthy Chris Boucher sat on the bench and did not play. It is shameless. It's embarrassing the way that they're going about things at the moment. But again, I totally understand why. And then we get into it and we have to try and break down, okay, so what does it mean as we move forward? Where do we go from here with this? Because they play Utah, then Portland, then Phoenix, then it's the Warriors, but then it's the Spurs, the Wizards, the Nets, the Hornets, the Sixers, the Bulls, the Blazers. That is an incredible run. Then Detroit, then Brooklyn, then Charlotte, then Dallas, then San Antonio. I cannot believe that schedule. So over the final 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They've got 16 games left. They play the Warriors and they play the Pistons. The other 14 teams are going to be battling to get into lottery seeding. I think that they might be, they're not good. They might be just too good here against these teams that no matter what they do, that's not going to help. Or they go absolutely shameless down the stretch here. 2 games against good teams. That is an unbelievable schedule. Wow. That is, I knew it was bad. That is crazy. So what do we do with this? How do we do it? Again, it could be easy to say, well, they're just going to shut guys down. But maybe they don't. Just because, again, and Scottie Barnes falls under the PPP, that maybe they're just going to be too good. How about my guy Orlando Robinson just quietly? 32 minutes, 25, 12, and 6. I said this the other day that I think it just might be worth an ad because they did their very best to lose this game. Pirtle, their most important player, played 17 minutes because they were playing too well, so they had to sit him down. He had 9 of 5, 2 steals and 2 blocks. So they put Robinson out there and he just cooked anyway. I think that we are, and again, Pirtle can be rested every single game if they want. I think Robinson is an ad unless they push him back to 18 minutes, which I don't think they will. I think he's an ad. The question you're going to have is Jared Roden, who played 43 minutes. Now, he does have limits on his games. 7. He can play 7 more. 7 out of 16. He had 25 and 12 with 4 threes and 4 steals. There are going to be ample opportunities for him, but he can only play 7 of 16. Now, he can be converted on this team because they've got guys that they could, if they wanted, they could waive Garrett Temple. There's Colin Castleton's 10-day spot, which we'll talk about in a sec. Maybe they want him there. They could waive Jamison Battle if they wanted to, but they probably don't. Temple's the easy one. That's probably one roster spot. I guess Boucher, but I don't think they'd waive him at this point, even though they DMP'd him. So Roden probably will be limited. But the guy that everyone was frothing over last game was AJ Lawson, who was still really good. But he came off the bench behind Roden. 28, 6, and 4 with 4 threes. These are really good numbers. But all of it just disappears when 2 players return. Castleton, 7 points, 14 rebounds, 3 blocks. Okay. His 10-day has 1 more game before it expires and they can sign him to another one. He's worth streaming in spots like this. And then the other guy who was just too good, and I, the idiot, put him on my thumbnail as a streaming guy, Jamal Shed. I thought, okay, he's going to be able to put up numbers. He was a plus 17 in the first 12 minutes, and they said, I'll see you later. You're not coming back, my guy. 5 points, 12 minutes, 5 assists. That is what I mean by shameless. We usually say players and coaches don't tank. Darko tanks. Darko tanks like crazy. This is crazy stuff from him. So we are seeing in-game that he just pulls the good players off. Giggity. Garrett Temple had 8 points, but honestly, who we're looking at is Shed if he played. But Castleton, Robinson, Roden, Lawson. Robinson's the one that I feel best about. Roden and Lawson, not really. Castleton a little bit, but obviously Roden can do it. Obviously Lawson can do it. And in 14 of the next 16 games, they're going to have opportunities to do it in some of them. And it is tough because I just don't know when that'll happen or when they just finally say, all right, we're good. Or do they just sit everybody down, apart from Barnes, who's in and out, all the rest of the way here? It is really messy. Really messy. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It is that time now. It's that time for March Madness. And FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, and even who is cutting down the nets. You can pick the favorites, you can pick the underdogs, you can alternate one game favorite, one game underdog, or you can use your brain and just try and pick who you think is going to win. You can do it with spreads and totals, whatever it is. You can even pick the overall winner. Do all that at FanDuel, but get that bonus bet in. If you're not a FanDuel customer, get in there, place the $5 bet, win the bet, and then get your $200 in bonus bets. So go to FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Sorry for that long discussion on that Sixers-Raptors one, because it's important. And we're trying to, navigate and diagnose. And honestly, I feel like we're flying a little blind, even though the patterns are there. But I can easily see Toronto with, again, just an unbelievable schedule, pushing through a situation where they get too far ahead and they don't do it anymore. But the only guy they get fined for is Barnes. So I'd expect ins and outs for him. I expect a lot of the other guys to be sat down in 2 weeks with intermittent rests coming through here already. Honestly, if it's not done already, which is possible. We'll see. Now we can talk about the Jazz, the pioneers of this foolishness. They lose to the Grizzlies 122-115. My apologies. The full strength Jazz lose to the Grizzlies. Okay, it's against a good team. Their guys played. They didn't play extreme minutes, but they played. So I think we might be in a weird spot here with the Jazz. We'll talk about them. Walker Kessler, 9 and 14, 5 assists, 6 blocks. A great game. Sexton, 22, 8 and 7. Great. John Collins, 22 and 7. Very good. Larry Markkinen. Bro, does this guy just suck now? I think he might. 14 and 6 with, probably not, but maybe. He's bad at the moment. And again, the exact opposite of Toronto's schedule is really what Utah's been playing through at the moment. So they play against, Jesus Christ, actually, their next game's against Toronto. So yeah, that will be interesting. But then they go Minnesota, Chicago, Washington. Yeah, okay, yuck. But then Boston, Cleveland, Memphis, Houston, Denver. Yeah, okay. So, all right. And then you get to Charlotte, then it's Houston, Indiana, Atlanta, Portland. Yeah, their schedule's hard. All right, here we go on this. I don't know what's going to happen. I know that these guys will sit back-to-backs. But I think actually the fact the NBA is going to be looking at it, plus the toughness of the schedule now for Utah, I think you don't have to. I think you move on from Kyle Filipowski, honestly. Thought we could do it. Thought we could get some good run from him, but they've pivoted back to this. Move on. Filipowski played 16 minutes for 9 and 8. Bryce Sensabaugh, don't worry about it. 11 points in 17 minutes. Collier, 11, 4 and 6. Easy drop. Keontae George was out again. I think he's a drop. Is Sexton and Collins ads is going to be the question? Maybe. Probably, actually. Probably. But we'll see. The back-to-back makes it tough. I'm on the fence with it, but probably. But Johnny Juzang, who's been starting. Svi Mykhailiuk, who started games. Just DMPs. KJ Martin played 12 minutes. Because the guys played. And they're going to play, and they're going to lose. Nearly every game here now. Going by how strong they are. And when you get to the final 2 weeks of the season, don't worry about it. They'll be out. That's okay. But I think now you are going to find it very, very difficult to hold on to Filipowski. Increasingly difficult. Because there's going to be these games. That's how I currently see it. But, man, that could just get asked up at any point, really. Let's talk about Memphis. There was still no Jaren. There was still no Santi. But what we got, instead of Vince Williams starting, which I thought he would, which is a little confusing, Greg Jackson started. But did it really matter? Jackson played 17. Vince played 17. Neither of them were good. 8 and 4 for Greg Jackson. 2 and 3 with 3 assists and 2 steals for Vince. So while I thought they might, Vince especially might be a stream guy, maybe not. What we're waiting for is Aldama to return. What is incredibly interesting, that in a game that Ja Morant played 31 minutes, Pippen played 26 and Kennard played 31. All right. We back to 25 a night of Pippen irrespective now. Because if we are, then we're in for streaming here. Absolutely. 11 points, 6 assists, 4 steals for Pippen. Kennard had 30 with 7 threes, a steal, and a block. Both guys become really, really strong 12-team stream options. Not musts, but good streams. Desi Bain was pretty good. Morant was pretty good, 28 with 7 assists. Brandon Clark returned and didn't do a huge amount. And I thought this was an opportunity for Zach Edey to actually finally have a good game. Nope. 8 and 4 in 20 minutes, while Jalen Wells had 3 points. These guys do not belong on 12-team rosters.
Get that garbage out of here.
Wells is not even worth it on a 16-teamer at this stage. They're also going to sign Lamar Stevens rest of season, which, I don't know, is it the reason for the season that is Lamar Stevens? Does that mean that Santi Aldama's calf soreness / strain, is it actually worse? It might be. I'd be a little worried about that. Of course, if you've got the ability to hold an Aldama in an IL slot, you do it. But yeah, I'd be a little concerned about where that goes from here, honestly. A little concerned. Let's go to the next game. What are we looking at here? I completely just blanked there. Yeah, we're talking about the Dallas Mavericks. Oh, here they are. Your mates, the Mavs, up against the San Antonio Spurs. The Mavs were able to trot out the same lineup, which is not something I thought many that we'd see from the Mavs very often. Brandon Williams did return from his hamstring injury. He played 28 minutes. Good for him. That's an incredibly fast return. Hopefully everything stays okay. 19, 3 and 6 with 2 steals. You know the drill. If they play him, we use him. So roster him. But remember, they play 2 games next week and he will absolutely not be worth holding for that. He has 7 games left. Kessler Edwards has 4 games left. Edwards played 28 minutes with no PJ. He had 15 with 2 threes and a steal, which is fine. It's good enough. But if he plays out, he's done at the end of next week. That's it for him. He won't play again. Najee Marshall had been playing well, and finally we got back to earth. Najee, 15, 3 and 3, 2 steals. What term do I hate? A million of them. But league winner is an insane term. It's a ridiculous term. People are claiming Najee Marshall is your league winner. Like, come on. He's a solid piece that's worth having for now, but that's not going to be the thing. And it's not going to get easier when PJ plays. So, yeah, we still roster him, but come on. Even with Brandon Williams back, Spencer Dinwiddie was useful. And I'm actually as surprised as anybody. 14, 4 and 4 and played 35 minutes. And that's keepable because he can actually play all the way through. So when Williams is done, Dinwiddie's minutes will stay high. We're still not getting it from Max Christie. I thought at some point it would turn, but maybe not actually. 6 points, 26 minutes. Cutthroat time, move on. If you're at cutthroat time. It was also a good Dante Exum game. He had 17 points, but there's an obvious thing here. He shot 7 times and 6 of them went in. He still only played 22 minutes. Don't bite. Don't bite on that at all. Do not bite. They played against the Spurs, who were able to get themselves a much not wanted win. 126-116 was your final score in this one. On the San Antonio side, it was good to see finally De'Aaron Fox play big minutes and put up good numbers. 32, 9, and 11. Great. Devin Vassell, who was questionable for the game. 16, 10, and 6, 2 steals. Love it. Keldon Johnson, only 17 minutes. Now, he was very good with 18 points. I don't trust him at all. He's a points streamer for me, and that is it. While Sohan had one of his better games, again, the opponent is important to note. 18 and 7, not 12-team rostering Sohan. He might have a chance later in the season, but we're a long way from that. While Steph Castle was bad. And what was interesting about this one for Castle is that we got full load of Fox, so Castle just got completely marginalized. He played 27 minutes. He had 8 points. He shot 7 times, 17 usage. The reason that Castle's numbers have been solid, not good, but solid, is he's rolling at 34 usage. And if that doesn't stick, he's got absolutely no business on a 12-team roster. I don't know that this one game indicates that this will be a new change. In fact, I'd probably try and hold Castle if I had him. But overall, his upside is incredibly limited because of the many deficiencies in his overall game. The pencil. I'll see how my voice goes for this one. Try again. The pencil. Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Yeah, not good. It could have been better. Barnesy. Barnesy. I just don't have it maybe today. That's okay. He played 31 minutes. He had 14 points, which is whatever. It's streamable. They got a back-to-back coming up. We look at it then. I don't know what that edging 30-minute game was from Biombo the other day, but we got 17 minutes for 4 points, and please do not Please do not bother with him in 12s. Not at all. They're just going incredibly small in nearly every one of these games. Let us move on to the next one. We're talking Phoenix. We're talking Houston. The Suns had to make some changes to their lineup because their starting center, BDNR, was out with an ankle tweak. But they also moved Bol to the bench because he's bad. He played 17 minutes. Bol, he had 7 points with 2 steals, and you've jacked him, I'm sure, hopefully. Who replaced Richards? Well, of course, you'd think it was Plumlee who'd been getting 25 minutes a night, playing really well. It would make sense. Here's an opportunity. Let's try to use Plumlee in our lineups for fantasy. He played 13 minutes and got ejected. So I'm not going to blame the Suns for that. He got into a fight with Steven Adams and ejected. Don't think he gets suspended. He was on his way to not a bad game, 4-6. But then dusted off out of the crypt. Cobwebs blown off. Oso Iguodaro. 4 blocks in 28 minutes, 8-6. I thought he was starting to show some stuff earlier in the season and then got completely just limited. Him and Ryan Dundas got sent to the gulag for whatever reason. He's back. And if Richards is out again, we can look at Iguodaro as a deeper league sort of option. But, again, Plumlee was ejected, not benched. Tyus Jones moved back to the bench with Bielo returning. He had 11, 4, and 4. I don't care for that. Not worth a hold anywhere. That's not true. Deep leagues, sure. And then Royce O'Neal started over Bol. He had 2 points. That is true Royce O'Neal stuff, but 8 assists, 3 steals, and a block. Just getting the extra little bits and pieces there. He's a tough one for me to look at as a must. There was still no Grayson Allen in this one as well. Durant had 19. He is, I don't know. He's been better than I thought he would be this season, Durant. I still don't think that he hasn't been dominating all the time. And Booker's been way worse. Oh my God, he's been so bad. 19-3, bad for expectations. 19-3 and 4, and Beal led the team in scoring. Beal's actually had some okay games recently, but this team continues to be really, really frustrating. Let's talk about the Houston Rockets side of things now, because they did get Fred VanVleet back, and we wanted to see what they would do with the lineup. Obviously, Amen Thompson remains sidelined. They moved Jabari Smith to the bench. So they are sort of out on Jabari a bit. I'm guessing they still played 33 minutes. Smith for 8 points, though. We don't roster Jabari Smith. As for VanVleet, 28 minutes, 10, 2, and 4, 3 steals. That's actually not that bad. We expect more moving forward, but that's not that bad. Jalen Green had a really, really good game. 29, 7, and 4, 3 steals, and 3 threes. If I'm going to criticize Jollibee Jalen for some of his bad ones, I'll tell you, he had a really good game. Unbelievable free throws, efficient from the field, got defensive stats, couldn't ask for more. Fantastic. And then Tari Eason had 15 and 10 with 2 blocks. Again, really just doing what he does. Same with Dylan Brooks. A good Dylan Brooks game. Love when they happen. Can't trust them, but love it. 19 with 2 threes and 4 assists, and there is just absolutely nothing else happening in that box score. We got the garbage time, Cam Whitmore minutes. That's it. That is all that one we need to talk about. Let's go on to the Clippers and the Miami Heat. The Heat lose 119-104 is your final score. As we expected, Kawhi Leonard was out for rest, and they went to Bogdan Bogdanovic in the starting lineup. Now, Bogdan's minutes and production had been just completely tailing off. We had lost all faith in him. So, of course, he played 39 minutes, had 30 and 10 with 4 threes on 69% shooting, and sometimes all you got to do is throw your hands up in the air and go, all right, what can I do? The opportunity was obviously there to play more minutes, so that maybe made him a little bit more interesting. But, bro, come on. No one saw, after the way he played and the way that Ty Lue had said no, although, to be fair, Ty Lue did not coach this game, back issues. Yeah. Zubats, another incredible game, 26 and 14 for him, while Jimmy had 24, 8, and 11 on bad efficiency. Did Chris Dunn get it done? Maybe. Depends. 4 points is shocking, clearly, but 3 assists and 3 steals is pretty good. You know what Dunn is, and the reason you have him is because it's Clippers week. Same with Nick Batum, who had 6 points only, but 2 threes, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. The reason you do it is Clippers week. And Clippers week still exists. They've still got 2 more quality games, and you drop them if you hadn't planned to need 4 games from that slot. Otherwise, you hold. You have to. That's the way it makes sense. Derek Jones didn't do much there, 8 and 4. I think that's probably about it for the Clippers. Let's go on to the Miami side of this. They rolled out the same starting lineup, except they didn't, because in the second half, it was different. Khalil Ware was benched. And we got back to, this is peak Haywood Highsmith. The Highsmith cycle. He started the second half, Highsmith. As for Ware, 18 minutes, 4 points. They are still just trying to find stuff clearly, but the writing's been on the wall here for Ware.
Get that garbage out of here.
The writing's been on the wall for Davion Mitchell as well.
Get that garbage out of here.
He went from playing 38 minutes a night, and I've always looked at it and went, they just traded for him. He's bad. Like, he's actually objectively a terrible player. why are they playing him a million minutes? And then, I think Erik Spoelstra's probably the second best coach in the league. Maybe third, whatever. He's very good. He's very good. But Spoelstra does this thing where it's like, he falls in love with a player. He plays in big minutes. Then you see him go, oh yeah, he's bad. And the minutes drop down. And then he goes, oh, Jesus. And then he drops him again. And then he drops him again. And then he goes, right, done, out. And then the cycle repeats. It's the Hayward Highsmith cycle. And Davion's copying it. We saw him go from 38 minutes and he played 29 in 2 or 3. We go, okay, what's going on here? And now, don't be shocked if he just doesn't start next game. Or, honestly, gets a 0. It's possible. Tyler Hero goes back to point guard. Pelle Larsson. He, at one point, was one of Spo's guys, and maybe he moves into a larger role. As for Highsmith, by the way, who started the second half, he went scoreless and played 14 minutes. So, cool. You never want to invest in him, nor do you want to do it with Jaquez, nor do you do it with Rozier. Wiggins scored his 20 points. He was bad from the line. He had 3 blocks. He's continuing to be good. Bam was actually horrid outside of the steals and assists, and Hero was good, but they're bad. I don't really know what they do from here. But there's going to be a lot of mix and matching is what I think with the Miami Heat. All right, let's go to the next game. The Minnesota Timberwolves against the Denver Nuggets. The Wolves win this one pretty easily, honestly, in the end. They are definitely a team that Denver struggles with. The score was 115-95. We'll start with the Minnesota side of things. Mike Conley continues to start for this team. He is playing better, but no more than a streamer, and probably more 14 teams. 8-1-5 with 2 steals, while Dante DiVincenzo played only 25 minutes. Now, interestingly, he played 30 minutes the other day. Then pre-game, Chris Finch said, yeah, he's coming on a minutes restriction. Okay. All right. So now what? All right, he only played 25 minutes here. He had 10, 6, and 6 with 2 blocks. We're still rostering Dante, but that was curious. Jaden McDaniels continues to be really good. 16 and 8, a steal and a block. Anthony Edwards was good. Julius Randle, since he came back from his injury, I don't think I've really seen Randle play as well as this. 25 and 4, 3 threes, 3 assists and 2 steals, shooting well. He's been awesome. Gobert got to 30 minutes here, 11 and 10. That's a solid enough line, but unfortunately for the Nas Reeds out there, he didn't do very much. 8 and 5 with 2 threes. A steal and a block is fine. We're still rostering him, but we know that earlier in the season, when they were healthy in the front court, Reed was basically a back-end player. And we need to get that into our heads again. If you are making really drastic cuts and he is your 11th or 12th best player, then he's not a hold. But only you know that answer. So don't be like, oh, but what if someone goes out? Because that doesn't really exist as a strategy when you are smack bang in the middle of the playoffs. On to the Nuggets side of this game. They went with the same lineup again. Westbrook starting with Gordon out, and Westbrook was fine. You roster him while Gordon's out. 19 and 4 with 1 assist and 3 steals. Jokic was good, 34, 8 and 4, and Michael Porter wasn't good, and neither were many others. 12, 5 and 8 for Murray, 10 and 9 for Porter, and this is probably the worst game we've seen from Christian Brown. 6 and 4 with no assists, steals, or blocks. Missed both his free throws and was 30% from the field. Told you he's bad. Told you, I knew it. Got it. Yes. Victory. Obviously not. That's just a bad game. He has been good basically all season, apart from there was a really quiet patch pre-Christmas and a quiet patch when he got benched for Aaron Gordon, but otherwise he's been awesome, and don't stress that one too much. Peyton Watson also just really not doing enough for you to consider in 10 or 12 or 14 team leagues. He played 16 minutes, he went scoreless, he blocked a shot. He's a desperation blocks streamer, Peyton Watson, and that's really about it. And now we go to the final game, a game that got to overtime that was incredibly low scoring in overtime, but then ended up with a game winner from Mikal Bridges, and they win the Knicks 114-113 over the Trailblazers. Bridges was great in this game. We know it's been a rough season. We had this controversy with him today, saying that he told Tom Thibodeau, hey, ease up on the minutes, big fella. And then when Tibbs was asked, he went, no, that we never discussed that. So I don't know what's going on. But 33, 4 and 4 in 41 minutes for Bridges. Towns was very good as well. Juice McBride was serviceable. Actually, no, pretty good. 11 points, 3 threes, 5 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks. Now the question is, one more game this week. Brunson may theoretically be back at the end of next week. Is McBride a hold? Probably not. One more game, 4 days. Probably not. Outside of games cap stuff, roto stuff, non-do-or-die week matchups. Anunoby had 23 and 7, while Josh the Hitman Hart 11, 11 and 9 in his 29% shooting. Rough game for him. But overall, he's been great. Couple of blocks from Mitchie Robinson, but we're not rostering him. He played 19 minutes. On to the Portland side of this game, where we probably had a little bit more, or more questions that needed answering, I guess, is more accurate. There was no Jeremy Grant. Again, so Denny Avdia has an opportunity to always do big things, and he did 27, 15, and 5 with 4 threes in 41 minutes. It's a lot of minutes. It's a lot of shots. He was very good again outside of the free throws. It's been an incredibly up and down season from Denny, but the second half has been pretty good on the whole. Shaedon Sharpe, good game from him. 42 minutes, 21 and 9 with 3 threes, while Donnie Klingon played 34 minutes. That's enough to be holding him in most spots. 6 and 12 with 3 blocks. Scoot also had a huge game. 37 minutes, 30 points, 4 threes. Love that from Scoot. But the problem is we don't get it enough. And it came because Anthony Simons struggled. 6, 4, and 5 in 31. And Kamara also not a great game. No defensive stats, 14, 3, and 4. Now, overall, these Sharpe, Klingon, Scoot, Denny, Kamara games, they're all 12-team viable. But they're just not happening often enough, especially when you go to Scoot and to Sharpe, to be looked at as must rosters. Remember, if you add after today, you don't get this. And it's all about the situation where individual single games can be good, but do you get more out of just rotating through in different spots? And the answer for a lot of these players will be yes. But big games here from a lot of these guys. Jeremy Grant remains out. If he does come back, he will have impacts here, obviously. And Jabari Walker left this game with a concussion evaluation, copped a whack in the head from Towns. If he's out, what we saw is Dwop Reith play 19 minutes, 6 points, 2 threes, and 3 blocks. So that would become a deeper league option there. Let's now go to the lines of the night. The monstrous line of the night. We're going to go to Charlotte, unfortunately. Miles Bridges, 31 and 11, 5 assists and 4 blocks for Bridges. The waiver wire line of the night is it's outrageous, isn't it? Jared Roden. Yeah, this guy. 25, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. Amazingly, he doesn't qualify for the young gun of the night, nor does AJ Lawson, nor does Orlando Robinson, because it's all of their third seasons. So we're going to Colin Castleton. 7 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks for Castleton. And the dud of the night, we have to head to Denver. It's got to be Christian Braun. Missed both of his free throws. Didn't generate an assist, a steal, a block, or a 3. Had just 6 points and 4 rebounds. And that is a recap show. Wednesday, 9 games on. I want you to come in here and give me the old double bang. I want you to celebrate your kidneys by drinking lots of water as well. I want you to give it a thumb. Do all the stuff that you need to do. I'm probably going to go have a beer and a nap, I'm guessing. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.